because this is going to be a gold-filled, nuggets-filled training that all of you guys are going to be able to use heading into the rest of the month, and then also going into your business and really implementing this. So I want to title this, It Goes Down in the DMs. I actually was sending one of my favorite podcasts that I listen to, that's actually another one of our 200K leaders in a sideline. And she goes over, they both go over so many good details as far as like how to have a meaningful, fulfilled conversation that closes. Not just that you're just kind of carrying on this like conversation that just is like fluff and pointless, not going anywhere. So I want to kind of help you guys in the closing aspect of conversations, the objections, all the things that make you guys feel uncomfortable, because this is where I'm going to set this up. If you're in this industry, which hello, we all are, and you are not having conversations, I can 99.9% guarantee you're not enrolling consistently. So talking to people is the literal thing that builds my business. And this is how you align to hit to your goals, okay? So let's talk a little bit about this, because conversations are either something that you're like, well, people aren't hopping in my inbox, or I'm having conversations, but they're only like, hi, how was your day? What have you been up to? So let's talk about these things. As I'm talking, and this is something I want you guys to all be doing, I want to see participation on this. I would love for you guys to drop in the comments an objection or situation or conversation or something that you are struggling with when it comes to the conversation aspect. Because a lot of times we got to dive a little deeper. We got to dissect a little bit more. So I'm going to go over a couple different options. I'm going to go over part one, which is getting someone into your messenger, getting someone into your inbox and how I do it. And then the second part is going to be talking about how I close and the parts of the closing that I assume the sale. I never wait on someone to just go in and be like, okay, I'm ready to order. If they're like, oh my goodness, that sounds amazing, I'd be like, okay, let's get you going. But I'm going to talk a little bit into details of that and broaden in that. So I'm going to talk on limiting beliefs first. So the thing about it is fortune is in the conversations. Fortune is in how you have those conversations. So let's set the tone about how do you get people in. You need to be creating curiosity. You hear Jenna, you hear all these leaders talk about building value, right? What building value, giving something to relate to, creating curiosity, drawing attention. How do you do that? You do that through your stories and you do that through your post, okay? So if those are the first two things, let's self-reflect on. Are you consistent in those? And are you building value, or are you just posting to post to get it up, okay? Because if those are the two first roadblocks, then this is why you aren't having people in your inbox, because you're not doing these two things, okay? So consistency, because someone has to be willing to trust. If they don't see you being a product of the product, like you think when I say, hey, you guys, put your stories in your first parts of your morning routine on your stories, like put your products in your stories first thing in the morning, and I see maybe 25% of you do that consistently, are you getting results consistently? Because that's where the thing about it is. I do it every single morning for the last 3.5 years. Well, not 3.5, 3 and like 4 months. But like, that's the thing about it. I never miss a morning. You will always see me have my products in my stories every single morning. Bet your bottom dollar on it in some type of way. And you want to know why this helps? Because the more I create curiosity, I'm not just always like Lavelle, product. No, I am me. I post my products in my stories. I show my morning routine. I go about my normal day and show my everyday life. I have maybe a call to action post in my stories. I have maybe a bolder opportunity post in my stories. I go maybe face to face in my stories, but I'm creating that curiosity. Okay, so people will So the people that ask about the business or the products or the business, they should already kind of know what the products do or how they make you feel or what they are about because of your consistency. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, people already know, hey, I've been seeing you put your black label up for the last 3 months. I know it has the B12 in it. You talk about that all the time. You talk about like that mood support part of it all the time. So I already know that's the wearable nutrition I want to go with. People have already decided by the time that they're messaging me what they're kind of already wanting to work on. It's just my job to dig deeper and get past the surface level of the sale and focus on the need and the solution. So they are already going to know how my products work, how my business works in ways because I've created curiosity through the discipline in my stories and my posts. Does that make sense so far? Because this is the area that I feel like we have the hardest on, is the turning the lights on to your store. You have to be willing to turn your lights on to your store. You have a life, hello, we don't need to live on social media, but you need to show the consistency of you being a product of the product. It's so important. Okay, the next thing is find ways to create that curiosity. Find ways to talk about that business or the products or call to actions in that. We did a training on Instagram stories and the importance of using reels, the importance of using IGTVs, the importance of posting on Facebook, the importance of going live. The reason we talk about those things is because the more value I put out, the more vulnerability I put out, the more someone's like already been watching my journey and my story because of my consistency and hops in my inbox. So if you're not having people in your inbox, it's probably because you're having some type of limitation or division in your social media. Meaning we don't know anything about whoever you are. You might be posting nothing but business and products and trying to sell someone. Or it could be the polar opposite. Maybe you aren't showing anything of your life and all you're showing is random sharing videos and random things that you're tagged in and all these things, but nothing of a business owner. Your social media should be cleaned up from the get. You need to have a Facebook that's clean. You need to have an Instagram that's clean. That is not what this training's on. This is about you doing the things that you know you need to be doing from the get in order to have someone hop in your inbox. Because people will want to know what you're a part of. The more passionate, the more excited, the more that you show the community, you show the products, you show the business. Even if you made $5 last week, that's $5 that you can keep adding up, never touch. And that's where a lot of us don't put in that perspective. Imagine if you just let all of your checks stack instead of thinking, oh, that's only what I got. If that's only what you got for that week, you write your own paychecks. So if you're not happy with your paychecks, it starts with your conversations. If you don't feel like you're not talking to enough people, you're not talking to enough people. So here's the thing. Strategy, being tasteful, passion, and consistency is how I show up in my stories. So you will see me talk about like how I feel, how bomb I'm feeling on my tack, or you'll see me talk about my hard days. You'll see me talk about how I get to run a business for like you see these things of how I get to share my everyday life. It will be different for you. For me, I'm a full-time family, so I'm navigating this new season. It's definitely different. It's uncomfortable in different ways, so I'm learning how to share it and grow with it, not resist it. So if you're in a season, maybe you're working full-time, you grow with that season. You don't just back away from it. There's no excuse there. I worked 14 to 15-hour days when I first started. We all have the same 24 hours. So people will attract to your tribe because they see you showing up for it. They see you building that future. They see you passionate and they're like, hey, if she can work too, then I can do that too. So whatever your message is, you need to portray that. We are paid storytellers. We are paid storytellers. So what is your story? Because the more you share that, the more someone wants to be a part of your team, your team, your team, your team, okay? Your story. So show products every morning, show your day, show value, and create strategy. You don't need product credit to have people to enroll. So that's the one thing. Let's talk about those limiting beliefs now, okay? Because when you're in a conversation, people are gonna hop in your inbox by you doing that front part that I'm referring to, okay? And then by you maintaining that relationship, I am constantly following up. I am constantly, if someone has reached out about my products or my business, even 3 years ago, they are always interested, period. That never goes away. That never changes. You may think it does, but it does not. And I'm living proof that I have girls that have either started, stopped, came back, watched me for 3 years. The point is, the consistency always wins, but with me building that value with the building of the relationship, okay? So I have girls that joined my team even the last 90 days that watched me for 3 years, from the day one, A1, starting even in my previous company, okay? And what happened is I kept with telling my story, taking them on the journey. And because they saw the community, they would learn about the business. People are learning about what you do by how you are showing it, how you're building that story, how you're talking about your journey. Even if you've never hit a rank and you've been in the company for 2 years, that is okay. That could be someone on your team's story that ends up being your next 200K leader underneath you. There's no expectation. So the more I'm having conversations and maintaining that rapport, meaning fortunes in the follow-up. I know we get so caught up on like, how often do you follow up? How many times do we follow up? How much is too much? I follow up until they enroll. Because every single person that I follow up with consistently, guess what? Enrolls. On grandma. That's like, I almost said on grandmas. Me and my family have this thing, if we're not like lying, it's on grandmas. So I literally almost just said that and y'all had no idea what I was talking about. It's literally facts. Between 6 to 22 follow-ups, someone will commit. Because the more you're putting it, and I don't mean this in their face, but the more you're talking about it, the more how are you doing today? How's your week been? What have you been up to? And you're just building relationships and connections. The more, guess what, you guys, you're already doing the work for you. By just being a people person, by just carrying that conversation, by just commenting on their stuff, you're building that follow-up right then and there, because they're like, oh my goodness, I've been avoiding her. I want those products. I've been wanting to get them. I'm going to talk to her about it soon. You keep putting it in the little forefront of the brain. The more you put it in the forefront of their brain, the more they're going to think about it. The more that they're going to think about it, the more they're going to end up joining. And that's just scientific fact. Why do you think we have commercials and the way we market in this world is because it's always in your face. And this is the thing I want to talk about on the opposite end. If you're afraid of being pushy, passion is not pushy. There is no such thing as pushy. There's no such thing as being too salesy, unless, guess what? You're spamming your feed with screenshotted emails. You're spamming your feed with nothing but Lavelle. You're like, hey babe, come buy my products. Let's buy my products. Are you ready to order? That's spammy. Okay, there's a difference. I'm following up because you came to me saying X, Y, and Z. You wanted to work on your energy. You wanted to go and start working on your mental support and working on your mood support. You told me X, Y, and Z, so what are you doing to change that? I am constantly putting it into the forefront of their mind, because the more I do that, the more I'm going to be able to problem solve, because people aren't signing up because of 3 reasons. They either don't trust what you're doing because they don't see consistency within you. So they don't feel like they can trust you within them, okay? They don't trust the company because either they've had a bad experience in network marketing, or they don't understand network marketing, or whatever that may be, or they don't trust the product. They don't understand. You're not sharing enough about how the product makes you feel. You're not talking about how well you feel or how much more clear you feel. You're not sharing your story. So they don't trust the product. Do you get what I'm saying? Because if they're following you for a reason. So the more that they follow you, the more they're going to learn the answers that they kind of start coming into your inbox about. I control all my conversations. Every single conversation is the exact same for me. There's a start and then there's an end. I get to know my people. I figure out what they're going through. I see what they're struggling with. I start going into the feel, felt, found is one of my favorite things I talk about. I use feel, felt, found and get to know what their need is. What is your goals? What are you wanting to change? So these questions could be hard for you to ask. If it's hard for you to ask, first off, understand why. Usually the biggest part about sealing the deal and closing and getting those people, like changing people's lives, is that we're afraid to ask. We're afraid to be bold. We're afraid to have that confidence because either we're worried about what other people think, we're not believing in it ourselves, we're finding limitations in our own mindset. It's usually one of our own issues within, and it's transferring it to the other. So our job is to first understand in a conversation, what is your limitations around a conversation? Because you have to be willing to understand what your limitations are first in a conversation so that you can stop taking it into the conversation. Does that make sense? So like pricing, for example, if you're intimidated by pricing and you don't believe in the pricing and you think the pricing's too expensive and you're like, it is kind of pricey, guess what? That's going to be transferred to the person you talk to every single time. And I promise you, you're probably not sealing the deal because you're not believing in the pricing. You think it as well. So you have to be willing to understand why your mindset's thinking that. If you're focused on survival, abundance can't grow. If $3 a day is too expensive for you, then boo, you need to work your business a little stronger. If the pricing right now and you don't get your products for free and you think the pricing's expensive, then you got to do the work. It's not a pricing problem, it's a you problem. And so that's where we have to realize it's the limitations that we create around the conversations that get transferred into the conversation. It's not hard to have a conversation. We're human. There's no script in conversations. There's no like, hi, I am a robot. Let me give you the verbiage to say when they tell you they can't afford it. No, that's not how we do things. If you want the secret sauce, you're the secret sauce. So when people, let me kind of go through this because I get squirrel syndrome. Okay, being ghosted. Okay, when people get ghosted, are you following up still? Are you going back in and being like, girl, what happened? You said you wanted to change and you ghosted me. I call people out when they ghost me in a nice, loving, assertive way. I say, babe, obviously there's a fear going on or you wouldn't be ghosting me. So what's going on? What fear is in your way? Because it's my job to overcome it. It's my job to figure out what the need is. It's my job to figure out why they're ghosting me. Because obviously they were in my inbox at one point for a reason. That doesn't change. That never changes. Okay, so if they're ghosting, it's because either maybe you're making them feel comfortable because they're seeing the things that they're not changing in their life. And sometimes people aren't ready to make changes in their life, so they avoid it. Or they ghost you, or they like do something to avoid the situation, or they look at the message and then push it back to unread because deep down they know that you're right. Whatever it may be, it's not our job to worry about that part. It's our job to solve solutions and change lives. So when it comes to ghosting, I keep following up. I comment on their page. I comment on their posts. I engage on their stories. I keep my face at the focal point, like I was talking about. I keep my face in the back of their mind. They can't get away from that Thrive Girl. I will find you. Just think of Brittany going like this and like that. What's that movie? I forget. Anyways, Wedding Crashers. There we go. But that's what I do in a very tasteful way because you guys, I have what they need, period. Do you know that if you went all in on your business, you would understand what I mean when I say I have what they need? Financially, product-wise, every mindset-wise, community-wise, I have everything that they need, okay? So it's my job to help them overcome that fear. The next thing, being bold, okay? This was maybe my hardest part because I know you guys think that Brittany's very bold and she does the tough love all the time and blah, 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 blah. First thing, there's no such thing as tough love. There's nothing but love. I just want the best for you guys. So I'm willing to say the things that others may not. It's the same thing with my customers. It's the same thing with my promoters. It's the same thing with my family. I am not here to make people feel comfortable. I'm here to help them grow. So if you're in my inner circle or if you're in my life, I don't just like not say what's on my heart in a positive way. If you're coming to me and asking for advice, I give you my advice. And so it's the same thing with being bold. It takes practice, because so often the reason why we're not being bold is we're worried about what someone else thinks. We're worried about what the receiver on the other end is, how they are going to interpret it. It's not our job to worry about how they are going to interpret it. It's our job to worry about how our heart is postured when we are saying it. If you're saying it with pride and ego and trying to be like, I'm right, you're wrong, then that's not the right heart posture. Okay. If you are going in it with the intent, like, babe, I've been through this exact same situation. I couldn't afford the products. I couldn't afford to do this. I get what you're saying, but at the end of the day, when there's a will, there's a way. If you're really serious about change, you'll stop with that excuse you keep telling me for the last 3 months, and you'll do something about it. I talk to my customers like that. And you know what? But that's me. Maybe that's not your personality color. Okay, maybe that's not who you are and how you operate. You got to start practicing being bold, but in your version of you. Does that make sense? Like, you can't be like Brittany bold and be like, try to like be like me. No, you need to be like whoever you are and however is going to make you say it. So usually those things that come to your heart, like if it's a genuine way, speak about it. Say, babe, you told me this 3 months ago. You told me this exact same thing like a month ago. When is enough enough? You don't have to be bold and like mean or like blah at them. You can say things with love and with a warm tone of voice, and it still portray the same message. Do you get what I'm saying? It's our job to discover the fear. It's our job to discover, and we can't. Closed mouths don't get fed. That's one of my favorite quotes lately. Closed mouths don't get fed. If you're not asking questions, how are you going to change? If you're not willing to ask, how are you going to know? If you're not trying to discover the need, how are you supposed to serve and still solve problems for others? Do you get what I'm saying? So you have to be willing to ask. Being bold is one of the biggest things, but that starts with confidence. Confidence is not something that's there. It's grown. Confidence is a growth. It's a daily freaking stepping into it thing. I am so not confident on some days. Behind the scenes, I struggle just like everyone else. Hello. I choose to step into the energy. I choose to step into the confidence. I choose to push that voice message and use my tone of voice. I choose to overcome that objection because I own what I see. Okay, so if I was not in, take me back to Brittany as a 4K leader that just started out, right? And I hear this all the time. Well, I'm not where you are, or I haven't made that kind of money yet, or I haven't hit that rank yet, or I haven't accomplished that yet. Okay, so that defines your confidence? Bless you. But that comes down to, no, your confidence is what you are building. Your confidence is in the future you see, the vision of where you're going. That's where my confidence came from in my A1 day one days. Like when I was brand new, the confidence came from where I saw myself going in this. If I was just willing to kind of do things differently and get a little uncomfortable and ask those questions. So confidence is literally the key to conversations. And it's not something that is going to be there. It's something that the moment you're like, I just went live for the first time today, I feel so much more confident. Or, oh my God, I just voice messaged for the first time. That energy is so much more different. I feel so much more confident. Confidence is gained by doing. Can you write that down? I want everyone to write that down. I want everyone to be participating and listening and being present. Confidence is gained by doing. So The other thing is being bold and having confidence in conversations comes down to playing little practices. So when people start to come in your inbox because you're doing the front things, you're starting to build more rapport with your team, you're starting to build more conversations with your audience, you're starting to ask more questions. How you get people more engaged is, are you putting call to action posts out? Are you like engaging? I'll be like, so do you like this outfit? Yes or no, or swipe right. I'll be like, do you like these shoes? Or like, I'll post even like yesterday. I posted, what did I post yesterday? That I had a second shake last night. You know how many people were in my inbox about that? Just little things that cause different engagement. I posted like, do you use, I've done like polls even where you take a poll and you do one thing on the other, one thing in the other, one thing in the other. That causes engagement. That causes people to start communicating with you more. Building unfold stories, call to action posts in your stories, going face to face and like building rapport about things that maybe you're doing behind the scenes. Like, can I get your advice on this? Can I do that? Like taking people with you on the journey, storytelling. That is the thing about it is we don't just thrive in Laval. We are not just Laval. Like we are literally us. People come to me because of me, not because of the product line. So they love the people that come to me, or they love my bold, like to your point, personality. They can handle me being direct with them. So that's why I can work well with growing with, like, because I have that audience, I have it niched down. Because guess what? I'm me in my stories. And because I'm me and showing up authentically, people engage more. So someone being so interested, then right before they are to order, they don't hear back again. If they were so interested and then you don't hear back, this is where we have to kind of dig deep. So we got to start discovering the need. What was the fear? This is why I was texting Krista this earlier. I'm like, this is why I enroll everyone myself. I enroll every single customer and promoter myself, period. Because the more I'm going through like click, 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 continue. I'm like, do I really want, I was trying to buy like a pair of something recently. And I think it was like Good American jeans. I'm like, do I really need these jeans? And I'm going through continue. And by the time I get to checkout, I'm like, I already talked myself out of it. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's why being in control of the conversation, enrolling the customer yourself, not just sending your link and just like giving them all the goods and like they're like, bye. No, like you need to take control. You need to walk them through. It's customer service. It's helping them seal the deal faster. So when I have someone that's so interested and then they ghost me or they just stop messaging me, I say, babe, what fear got in the way? What got in the way? You told me, this is one of my favorite things. I use it all the time. You told me that you wanted to work on your energy and your health and all that. So what got in the way? Fear? Okay, what fear got in the way? What are you so fearful of? Well, I'm afraid it's not gonna work. Well, how do you know? Well, I don't. Okay, exactly. You don't know unless you try. And I guarantee you, once you experience it, you will be thanking me later. Everyone does. Do you see how I just did that so smoothly and easily and it just flowed? Do you think that it happened like that before? No, it took practice. It took me being like, okay, so they said this. Now I have to be confident. I have to overcome it. And I have to own it. Do you get what I'm saying? Because if you're not choosing to be confident, you're not choosing to own it, you're not choosing to step into it, that's a choice. You have to embody what you say you want to be. You want to be a 4K leader, you want to be a 12K leader, you want to be an 80K leader, whatever it may be. That starts with your conversations. That starts with your confidence within them. That starts with sealing the deal. The more you enroll, the more your team grows. The more you're enrolling, that means the more your confidence is growing because your energy is aligning. The more your energy is aligning, the more you're going to transmit that out. And people, it's contagious. Happy people, joyful people, people that just don't have to operate in desperation, that it's just natural, guess what? It magnetizes back. Like today was my unplug day because I take Sundays, half of Sundays to unplug. And I still enrolled 2 customers. But I had been talking to them for months. Do you get what I'm saying? I followed up with them about the sales. I said, if you're going to order, now's the time. It's like 2 months worth of products for free. Wording. It's wording. It's strategic. It's tastefully done. It's being not passion is not pushy. So guess what? I'm doing you a disservice if I'm not going into your inbox and being like, hey babe, we have a sale. You told me X, Y, and Z that you wanted to work on. Now's the time because you're getting the best deal. I'm not doing them a service and solving a solution for them if I'm not talking about it, if I'm not going and following up with them. Jenna, she's not on because she has some family stuff going on, but she's using this new email service and it's paid for, but I know you can get a couple, and you can go through and grab all of your customer emails in your back office all at once and send them one email. Like me and her, like it, but like I'm being resourceful. So I'm not having to go click every single time to each customer in my back office to follow up. I'm not just following up in Instagram and Facebook. We have a whole potential list that we've already enrolled with too in our back office that customers love our products. They love deals. They love knowing about that stuff. Have you emailed your customers at all this weekend and gone and follow up? Because fortune's in the follow up. So let's talk about, can you guys give me an objection? Do you mind dropping some objections that you guys have a hard time with maybe? Because I want to talk about that, and I'm going to talk about that. So write down, find goals, find fears, and find pain points. I can't say that. It's hard to say. So goals, fears, and pain point, like pain. What pain are they going through right now? You need to find that little like pinpoint that they're dealing with that's really hard. Dig those things up. Like, because you're supposed to find their needs. If they're like, babe, I literally have like $20 to my name right now. Like, I don't have any type of money. That's all I have. What do you normally say? Would you be like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I've been there. I understand, and just let it be? Or would you try to overcome it? Because a lot of times we think that someone can't do something because they said they were broke.
Can I answer that one? Is that okay?
What do you mean? Go ahead.
The one where I've gotten a lot of people saying where they don't have the money, like they literally have the $20 in their account. And I used to just say, okay. And now I'm like, well, what are you doing to change that? Are you wanting to stay like that? Are you wanting to stay in that situation? Aren't you tired of that situation? Like, why did you hop in my inbox? Like, it's taken me a very long time to get there, but I mean, like, don't let them, they pursued you for a reason. So there has to be a post or stories or something that you posted that gave them enough courage to hop in your inbox. So for me, I've learned, like, okay, well, let's talk about it. Like, why did you hop in my inbox? Like, you're curious about it, but you knew you only had $20. So what are you wanting to get out of this?
I love that you said that, because that's something that I'm like, I love when people say what they're going through in those areas, and how Erica's talking about she's going through that journey of getting to that point where she can now be like, okay, so you said this, but what's really going on? Do you see how she said that? This is what I'm referring to on this training. It took a long time for me to practice getting to the point where how Erica is right now, confident enough to ask the hard questions, to ask the bolder questions. But because she's doing that, she is going to start sealing the deal more, which is the wording I use, because it will start compounding. The more you practice it, the more that energy shifts. The more that energy shifts, the more your confidence grows. The more your confidence grows, the more it becomes something that someone wants to be a part of more and more, because they see the value that you are bringing, because you are helping them become aware of their limitations and fears. What it comes down to at every single conversation, in every single situation, is a timing and a fear and a limitation. If you can start understanding that in a conversation, that it's literally, it's all the same. Every single conversation has similar like things in it, but it's always gonna either be, hey, they're not starting because they're afraid of something, they're not believing in something enough. And then if we can discover those things, we already solved the solution. They will enroll, they will start because they see that value. You've built that overcoming of objection. So let's talk about that really quick, because I liked that. So I've done this type of thing before. Okay, cool, you've never done it with me. Do you think because you're not as whatever leader that you can't say that? Here's the thing. I've done this type of thing before as well. I came from a previous company. No, I don't just leave it like that. I leave it like that and I let them think for a second. Okay? It's all, do you see how it's strategic? It's not like, it's like the more you practice this, the more you know when to say the next thing. Let them think for a second. I'm like, okay, you've never done it with me. So that's the first part. The second part is, I've been where you've been. I completely understand where you're going. Feel, felt, found. The reason why it's so different over here is because we teach you the right way of building a business. The community is unmatched. And once you start, you will see for yourself and thank me later. Less is more. Don't answer questions that aren't asked. Okay, this is another thing that a lot of you guys do. Don't answer questions that aren't asked. Don't start just word vomiting. That's called, don't start word vomiting. Don't just start giving, if it's more blue than it is gray, or if it's like, what we need more, less is more. Simple. What do? I run a new health and wellness company. I'm a professional network marketer. What is your 3 steps? It's a premium, simple, it's a 3-step system done within the first 20 minutes of your day. It's a premium nutritional system. You can word it however you want. There's no right or wrong. It's just less is more, confidence, wording. So when people are like, I've done this before. Okay, you've done this before, yes, but you've never done it with me. You've never been a part of the community and the systems and the trainings that I have. And the third thing is you quit. I always tell someone when they're like, well, I've done this before, and you quit, obviously. And if you quit, you can't tell me it doesn't work because you quit. So when you quit, you don't know if it was going to work. You don't know if it was going to change your life because you gave up before you could see, because it got hard. And that's why network marketing doesn't go for everybody, because you quit before you see the growth, you see the changes. And that's what I help you overcome. Do you see how I use that? So they quit because it got hard. That's obviously why they quit. There wasn't a priority in it. They didn't see the value in it. It wasn't something that they saw the value to show up for it, whatever it may be. They quit on it, okay? And because they quit, that shows me their pattern already heading into business. That, like, if your mindset, hey, is I'm going to quit when it gets hard, I said, babe, this is the area that I'm going to help you in as your leader overcome. Because the fact that you quit and you've done this before shows me, hey, we got some limitations and things to work through. And this is what my community is all about. Do you see how I flip it to them and help them overcome that? It's just simple things, because it's true. We're going to help them overcome that. People that are committed and see the value and don't half-ass their business, don't leave. I mean, it's that simple. I mean, it's truth. The next thing, and I failed in network marketing before and don't want to fail in another. If you're avoiding failure, you're avoiding success. Every single day I fail at something. Let me repeat that for you. If you're avoiding failure, you're avoiding success. Some of you need to write that down. If you're avoiding failure, you're avoiding success. I fail at something every single day. Did you guys notice on my reel the other day that I messed up on my little finger pointing? Did you notice that? Most of you would have been like, oh my God, I'm not going to post this. This is horrible. I'm not even going to do a reel. I can't even do a reel. I give up. I fail at something every single day. And I don't care. And I don't look at it. I don't feed it. I don't give it life. I don't even acknowledge it. I learn from it, grow from it, and do better the next day. And that's what I'm going to help you do. There is always two answers to every problem. So if one person comes at you with this objection, there's always an opposite that you can say to that. And this is what you have to realize in this industry, there is always objections in a conversation. Always. Are you overcoming them? Okay, so next thing, I love these things. Sorry, these light me up. They say they have a lot of family stuff going on and family stuff that put them last. Okay, so I'm a little red on these topics because the fact that they have a lot of family stuff going on, okay, so what's your next 5 years gonna look like down the road because of this temporary family stuff? What is it gonna look like? Is that gonna be the thing that keeps defining you in 5 years from now? Is this current circumstance that's defining you right now? Probably not. So the fact that you have life going on, babe, guess what? Life is always gonna happen. It's never gonna not. And this is what separates entrepreneurship from people that are more hobbyists. You either want change and you move different and do different, no matter what life is throwing at you, or you don't. But here's the thing, and this is where I'm going to speak very lovingly to you guys. If you were in that circumstance and you're not committed to your own business and your own consistency and your own energy and your own mindset and your own growth, you won't be able to say that to somebody. Do you get why? Because it doesn't align with your integrity, because you know that you're not living it too. Do you get what I mean? And so this is why when we're having conversations, sometimes it's hard to get into overcoming objections because there's things that we're not doing behind the scenes that we can't help them overcome if we're not overcoming. So this is like a hand in hand. And it's not, this is why Em and Lindsay and everyone's so big on self-development, because you have to be developing yourself every single day to be able to start doing the things every single day. Do you get what I mean? And so the more you can pinpoint the pain point, the pain of what they're going through, the more you can overcome it. The more you can overcome it, the more you're going to be able to seal those deals, because people will see the value that you are a real human. You've gone through these things too, and that you can get through them. Okay. The next thing is I want to talk about assuming the sale. Okay. Here's the thing too. If you don't keep the conversation going, it will not keep going. So I've had this a lot of times where we're like, well, they're just talking about this and this. Okay, but are you keeping the conversation going? Are you like, okay, so how was your week last week? I know we talked about this, this, and this before, but what's been new? What's going on? I saw that you did this weekend. It doesn't have to be like uncomfortable. Of course, it's uncomfortable if you don't like to like ask things like that, but that's called growth. So face that growth and just grow with it. Because the more you're willing to ask and just keep building that relationship, the more it will become like all of us and how we all feel like we know each other. Like me and my girls that I've never met in real, like Krista and me, I feel like I've known her for like my whole life and we've never met in person. So that's the same. Why is it not the same thing with your customers and potentials? Do you get what I'm saying? Because the more I'm just talking to them, be like, just building relationships about whatever makes them or whatever's going on with them, the more they get to know me and the more we carry that conversation. And then the more they're like, okay, I've seen you for so and so many years or so many months. I need to know what you're doing. I need to know what this is about. I need to know how I could do it. Do you get what it's the consistency aspect of building that story, your storytelling. So let's see, I'm going to make sure I'm not missing anything. Don't mind me. Until my husband doesn't want me to do it. Okay, I had this written down, so thank you for pointing that out. Where did it go? Don't mind me, 1 second. I had notes that I obviously didn't really follow. Okay, when they tell you that they don't have money, they need to think about it, or that their husband, they need to talk to their husband. The real reason is they don't believe in the product, they don't see the value, or they don't believe in the company. It's a smoke screen. It's a scapegoat. It's just an excuse to get out of it, to take the pressure off from giving them the real reason. So this is why if they're saying, hey, I need to talk to my husband, or my husband doesn't want me to, be like, okay, so that your vision or your goals are connected to what your husband does. I don't play, because my husband did not support me at the beginning. Like, he did and he didn't. He didn't understand it. You know what I mean? He was like, yeah, you could start. But then when I started working my business and being on my phone, that was an argument. You know, you're on your phone all the time. You never have time, blah, 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 right? So the thing about it is, if my husband doesn't want me to start this business, so, okay, tell me, your husband doesn't want you to help you change your future? I'm confused. You told me that you're broke. Your husband doesn't want you to help change that situation? Why are you afraid to say that in a loving way, in a voice message, not in a text message? Because sometimes that can come out like really like, oh. Say it in a nice, loving way on a voice message. That's why Brittany does not text message a lot. I text my team because you can deal with my typos half the time, but I do not I voice message like 99% of the time my potentials. Because I'm a red personality. I have to give that value, so they need to see my heart. Because I'm going to say what's up, but I'm going to say it in a loving way. So if my husband didn't want me to do that, I would just really connect to what it is that defining them. Why is that defining them? Why is there could be more to that, which that could be a whole type of situation maybe that you don't want to run down that rabbit hole. Maybe there's other things going on that they need to grow through, and maybe it's a control thing. Who knows? You need to dig deep to discover that, though. Do you get what I'm saying? Because if you don't know, how are you going to figure out what's going on in their life, or why their husband doesn't want, whatever it may be? At least you can build that, because let's say they keep saying no, they're still watching. A no is never a no. It's just not a right now. So the next thing is, I talk to them like I do. Yeah, talk to them just like you would do as your best friend, like what you're wanting to do, as if you were talking to your mom, your boyfriend, whoever, your best friend. You have to be willing to be in that energetic vibe that it's easy, it's natural, it's you, and that's a choice. Erica, you had something you wanted to say, babe?
Yeah, real quick, sorry, I don't mean to do that. But I actually had a potential promoter. She ghosted me, but that's besides the point. I keep following up, but she's like, well, I'm not sure my husband would be on board, because I was with a company and then I left, and I was like, okay. I was like, well, why don't we just do a 3-way Zoom or a 2-way Zoom? And she was like, what? And I was like, well, if he has questions, he can ask. And she kind of froze. She was like, we were voice messaging back and forth. And she was like, you would do that? And I was like, well, why not? I was like, I know what I have my hands on, and I know what it can do for your family. And I think that, I'm not saying you do that every time, but I think that, if it comes up, then just ask. Be like, hey, why don't we just all three talk? If you have questions, let's talk. I'm not hiding anything. This isn't a scam. Let's talk, because he is strict. She said he's old school. He's not all about that, and I was like, well, whenever he's ready, we can do one. And she's like, he won't ever get on one. And I was like, okay, well, he can sit there and you and I can just talk on a Zoom. You know what I mean? Have him sit there and then we just talk on a Zoom. And she was like, no. And I was like, okay, if that's fine. But I just maybe that might open doors for people doing that. That I had never done that before, but I was willing to.
No, I love that. And that's the thing that I love, is following that inspired action. That's another thing that you'll find in conversations. There's little things that will pop up in your mind when you're having conversations that you're like, oh, I should say this, but then we don't say it. Or I should voice message this, but we don't say it. Or I should talk about this promo to them and follow up with it, but we don't follow up, because there's a limitation there. So the thing about it is, it's like how Erica's saying, taking people on that journey, growing through the uncomfortable pinpoints that we're facing, and being willing to ask those things. Erica probably helped that girl see maybe what she was using as an excuse. And because she's using it as an excuse, she's going to keep watching. And when she's truly ready for change, she will join. And that's the thing. The other thing is, I always, in my mindset, never go into a conversation with the intent to pitch them or to sell them. My first point of contact when I am speaking to someone, or someone hops in my inbox, or someone's talking about the products of the business, I never go into straight selling mode. I could not talk. I never go and be like, well, let me tell you about the business. This is what it does, blah, 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 blah. No. Or let me tell you about the products. This is what it does. No, I never go into that. I never start pitching. I never start selling anyone from the gate. I get to know what their need is first. I get to know what they're going through first. I use that feel, felt, found first, okay? So I hope this helped. This was kind of just all over the place as far as closing. The last thing I wanted to talk about for just 2 seconds is just assuming the sale. When someone is at the point of the conversation where they're like, okay, this sounds so amazing, I'm like so excited, or this sounds so amazing, I assume the sale. I say, okay, let's get you started. Here's what I'll need. I send over the little template that I have that's in our team pages that a lot of us use, and I assume the sale. I say, once I'm done, you can log in and check your invoice and your tracking. Okay? I make it very seamless for them. If you are not, and I know everyone does things differently, but if you need to have an understanding on why it's so important to seal the deal, like close your own customers and promoters yourself, I can tag you in a couple things that are valuable when it comes to like the reasoning on why you should be enrolling your people, is because you're in control of it. They're not going to get sidetracked from it. They're not going to start second guessing it. They're not going to start being like, oh my God, am I really doing this? And then back out of it. They're going to be, you're doing it. You're getting that in. And if they don't send it, it's because they're still not sealed. They're still not fully ready. They're still fearful. And so if they're like, well, I don't know. Okay, what is the fear? What's going on? What's making you stop? You want these goals, you got to put yourself first and take care of your health. You can't pour from an empty cup. So what's going on that's stopping you? Let's identify that. And when you identify that, that is literally what seals the deal. There's so many times where I'll have people get like, I don't know if I'm ready. Okay, so why? Let's dive. I'm not going to be like, oh my God, you need to start if you're not ready, but I want to know what's stopping you. Because if you can identify it and then bring value, then you can seal that deal. That's why a lot of times, you guys can all hold me on to this. This is why I'm upping my sample game, because I upsell samples all the time. It's kind of a problem, but not a problem. It's a good thing. Like I have people that want to just buy samples, and then I'm like, well, let's get you on a month's supply because you're just going to end up wasting $25 because you're going to end up falling in love with it anyways. And they're like, you're right. And I'm like, I know. So it's just, I have to stretch myself in those areas, but it's all about wording. It's all about presenting value, I'm like, dude, you're going to fall in love with it after 3 days anyways, and you're going to have to spend another $150, and you would have been saving the $25. So it all comes down to getting to know that person, getting to know when you can say these things, getting to know their needs. Maybe $25 is all they can do. That's okay. But presenting the options, presenting the options of promoter packs, customer packs, is sealing the deal. If they haven't asked about pricing at the end, you guys, as well, I don't just go and be like, blah, blah, here's the pricing, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, here's what I need. I've had so many times where customers never asked about pricing, and I was at the part of the conversation where I was sealing the deal, and they were ready to get ready to go. And I'm like, here's what I need. They send me over everything that they need, and they never once asked about pricing. Once. You want to know? I'm like, babe, so here, and I said, here's what it is prior to, and I show them the pricing before the 20% discount, and then I show them the pricing after the 20% discount. I said, this will be the total that you're charged. Do you see how I never even had to go? Sometimes it's at that point, because I built so much trust and value and confidence in it, that they don't care how much it is, they just want it. And you guys, I'm just saying this, I'm going to